Link building is without a doubt the hardest part of SEO. You can't hack your way to the top. It's based on reaching out to real people, which can be intimidating. And if you're just starting out as a beginner, it can be really difficult to get those initial 100 backlinks to build your domain authority. That's why in this video, we're going to cover the exact link building tactics that actually work in 2022 and the strategies that I used to build over 3,000 backlinks in my blog's first year. This in turn grew my traffic to over 500,000 monthly visitors, and now I make over $150,000 a month from my blog, which I just started in January 19. So we're going to cover link building in 2022 and exactly what you need to do. But before we get started, make sure to watch my free blogging masterclass. So we go over my exact content, my link building, my SEO strategies, and my affiliate strategies, how I make over the $150,000 a month with my blog. Click the link in the description below, check it out, and let's get into the topic for today. First, let's cover how backlinks were extremely important in growing my blog's traffic. So here's my Ahrefs profile, and you can see all of this stuff in the main profile here. We have backlinks, referring domains, organic keywords, and organic traffic. And we can see the backlink profile and referring domains from when I started in January 2019 and this, growth curve up to 2022. And we can see all of this has a direct correlation with the organic search traffic that I've been receiving in my blog, over 500,000 monthly readers. Traffic valued at over $1 million a month if I were to bid on it from an organic perspective. So getting these backlinks, made my site trusted in Google's eyes. And scaling the backlink acquisition was one of the most important things. Anyone can write content and create content, but getting a lot of backlinks is the key and, the way that you can find success and get more traffic to your blog. So if we look at my, my referring domains, these are all of the websites that are linking to my blog, adamandfroy.com. So we see if we want to sort it by domain rating to see the most authoritative sites linking to me, we can do that. We can see there's sites like Weebly, Wix, DreamHost, Calendly, HubSpot, Business Insider, BigCommerce, Entrepreneur.com, lots of really high authority sites. So in this video, I'm going to cover specifically how I got these links, all these good links, over 3,000 active links that I worked for in my blog's first year. And we're going to go over the main strategies that you can use to get these links too. First, we have to cover the fact that there is a major problem when it comes to link building advice out there. I Google something like link building strategies here, and I see tons of different articles. There's tons of, influencers here, Ahrefs, Neil Patel, Brian Dean at Backlinko, SEMrush, Yoast. And, there's a complete list of SEO link building strategies here, 170 plus link building tactics. And everybody teaches the tactics. They teach the way to do it with an email, right? Like broken link building, the skyscraper technique, do guest post outreach, do these things and ask people for links in a certain way. But there's a real problem with those approaches because they don't go into the human psychology of links and what they actually are. Links are a value exchange. Links are like the currency of the internet. If you can get a link from a high authority site to your blog, that has real value. That has value in the real world. That can boost your rankings. So simply asking for that for somebody with not providing them anything in return is actually really difficult. So the problem is there's a ton of different individual link building tactics, but it's mainly email outreach and things that don't necessarily work if you don't have leverage and you don't have a relationship. That's why it's really difficult. They teach the tactics, but ultimately it comes down to the real human psychology of link building and building real relationships. All right, so we know that there's a ton of different link building tactics out there, 170 or more, but how do we actually do link building strategies that work in 2022? Let's narrow it down to the only two real link building strategies that I use, and that is what I call guest posts are the engine and partnerships are the fuel. So in order to get a lot of links to your blog, you need leverage and you need the ability to provide links for other people. Remember, this is a value exchange. When we do our outreach, when we send our messages, we want to be able to provide something of value in return. So I'm going to start, showing you a little bit about how this works and how I specifically do it for my blog. Let's start first with guest posts. So guest posts are a great way to build links from one site to yours by writing an article for another site and linking to your article on your website. So here's an article of mine that I wrote, a guest post on addthis.com. This I actually wrote in 2019, 5 ways to increase your e-commerce sales with pop-ups and banners. So if we go down, let's actually find where I link to my blog. So here's one. It says, here's anchor text, back that with your email marketing software, and it links to my article on email marketing software. So that passes page value from this individual article on addthis.com, linking, do follow link to my article on email marketing software. And that passes link value, that helps that specific article rank, it boosts my domain rating overall, and it's a great way to get links. So you'll see I also added, another link into this one on landing page builders, and then I have my guest author bio at the bottom, and this is actually kind of funny. This was back in 2019, so you can read that and see it says I'm a strategic partnerships manager for BigCommerce. I was working full time at the time, and it has my link to my homepage. So in a guest post, you can link a couple times to yourself, to individual articles on your blog in the content. That's key. You want links in the content, not just that homepage link in the bio. Google's good at knowing the difference between what's in the content and what's in that author bio. So, an easy way, a good way to get links to your blog is to work for them and do guest posts. So I want to get into the guest post strategy in depth right now because it's really important that we understand exactly how to do this. So first, there's a number of different steps when it comes to guest posts. Number one is what sites I'm actually going to write for. Who am I going to reach out to? So that's number one. Finding the list of sites that you actually want to reach out to. One interesting way that I do that is actually with Ahrefs. So again, I'm looking at my site. What if I wanted to find, a competing domain of mine? So I'm looking at my competitors according to Ahrefs and seeing, other sites that rank for similar keywords to me. And then based on that list, I can see who's actually ranking to them. So something like bloggingwizard.com, I'm going to use that as an example. So I'm going to go to Blogging Wizard. Great site, I know them personally, they're cool. And I'm always friendly with the competition too. So you can do this specifically for your niche, but you can see, look at their referring domains. So look at competing referring domains in your niche or some of the big players in your niche. And then you can just go by, domain rating. You can see DreamHost, WooCommerce, WP Engine, a lot of great links here. All you do is export that list. So export the first 1,000, referring domains from a competitor, and that could be a good idea of sites to reach out to. And you can sort it by domain rating, filter it out, get rid of some of the websites that aren't .com. There's a little bit of manual stuff there, but that's a good way to initially, build a list of targeted sites that you want to reach out to. So maybe create a list of, 100 sites as a goal and start doing outreach. So now that you have a list of targeted sites you want to reach out to, the next step is actually finding the right person to reach out to and message. So in an example, I wrote a guest post for Flippa.com, how I grew a blog to 500,000 monthly readers in under 2 years. It's an interesting one. I linked to my homepage. I linked to a lot of things on my site. And I can kind of give you an overview of how I found the right person to reach out to at Flippa. So what I did was I went to LinkedIn and I typed in Flippa and I found the company page. I went to that company page and then I went to all their employees. So I'm trying to find the right person. And typically the person you want to reach out to is like a content manager or an editor or something like that. So now we have the list of all of the employees at Flippa. I'm going to search for the word content and boom, this is the person that I would probably reach out to at Flippa, the content and marketing manager. So that's the person that I would reach out to. Now I can reach out to them and connect with them on LinkedIn, and then I can send a message to them directly there. And then also what I'd want to do is, get their email address. And you can use a tool like hunter.io in order to find their email address. So you can put in the domain like flippa.com and it will tell you, the structure of their email. So it might be first name at flippa.com or first dot last name at flippa.com. It'll give you that structure so then you know based on their name on LinkedIn and the structure of the email, exactly what their email address is. So then next to that column in your spreadsheet with your domain rating and the sites that you want to reach out to, you can start adding in that contact information. So that's step 2, actually finding the person that you want to reach out to. The third step in this process is actually sending an email message to your target contact. And to do that, you can send a kind of a templated approach, but you want personalization in it as well. You want a more targeted approach, more of a sniper approach than a mass sending 500 emails based on a mail merge or something like that. So here's an example of one that I sent and how I lay out my email. I say, hi Becky, my name's Adam and I write to 500,000 readers per month at adaminfo.com where I talk about yada yada yada. And this is a personalized sentence. So I say, great post on this, and I link to the post that we read. And then I add a couple extra sentences. Marketers are on the lookout for different things. Your article shares expert opinions. This was very helpful. Now here's the key sentence right here. I write 15 to 25 plus guest posts per month on high quality sites in the SaaS marketing and online business space. Boom, there's my leverage point. That's an interesting thing. I'm not asking for a guest post directly. I'm saying, hey, it's nice to meet you. I write a ton of guest posts already. Maybe I can link to you. So that's the value exchange. I can link to you. I'm not asking for you to link to me yet. And then we say, I wanted to see if we could talk about collaborating together via a link exchange and or contributing a guest post to your site. Let me know what you think. P.S. You can read about me in Forbes and Entrepreneur. So there's social proof built in here, 500,000 monthly readers, Forbes and Entrepreneur links. And I'm saying, I do a ton of guest posts. I can actually link to you. So that's where the leverage comes in, and using links like a currency and saying, I'm open to doing this, but I can also link to you. And that, that type of outreach has a much higher success rate, because I'm not just saying, hey, I want to write a guest post, it's high quality. I'm saying I write a ton too, and I can use these guest posts as link trade to get other guest posts. So it really helps in your outreach and overall strategy. Now, I have this now because I can say, I write to 500,000 readers. I've been in Forbes and Entrepreneur. If you're just starting out and you don't have that, you don't want to say something like, I write to 0 readers at, here's my domain, or I'm a brand new blogger at this. You need to find your unique leverage point. So that might be your professional experience in your career. When I first started sending these outreach messages, I didn't say, I'm a blogger with no traffic at adamenfroy.com. I said, I'm a, digital marketing director at Big Commerce. I was using my career as leverage because that was more impressive than my blog yet was. So maybe it's your career, maybe it's something, an insider knowledge that you have, maybe it's a unique thing that you shared on your blog. You need to find your unique leverage point, and only you can identify that. But that's the part where it can really build the snowball effect of getting this to work, because then once you start getting some initial guest posts, accepted, then you can start using that as trade bait, using it to build these real relationships with other websites, show those as samples in your future outreach, and it helps with everything. So that's kind of how I look at framing an email message. It's actually going after, providing value to them. What do they want? Typically links. After you sent your initial message to your target contact, then the question is, do they actually answer? And if they do answer, then it's time to get right into it and pitch a topic. So here's an example email of a site that was in the writing niche that I pitched topics for. You can see in this email, it says, I say, we'd be happy to link to one of your articles in our guest post in exchange for writing a blog post. So they actually answered because of the link value that I shared and said that I can link to them. They might not have answered otherwise. So I say, what do you think about one of these topics? Here's the topics: how to start a blog for writers, how to market your nonfiction book online, how to outline a nonfiction book, and how to self-publish a book on Amazon. So I typically pitch 3 to 4 topics to this content manager, and there's clearly a formula for this. One is you got to make sure it doesn't exist on their blog yet. It would be bad if you pitch something that already existed and they already published. 2, it really should make sense for their audience. Their audience comes first when it comes to these guest posts. It's not about you and what you want to write. It's about what their audience wants to read. 3, it should be, keyword optimized. Make sure that, you're structuring this title in a way that makes sense. I like to add like X ways because I like to do this, or how to do this, or make sure that it is based on target keywords. And then finally, like one nice to have is like if you can easily link to a blog post of yours in it. So like this one, for example, how to start a blog for writers. I wrote a post on how to start a blog, easy to link to. So then they can say, she got back and said, awesome, I think the first topic, how to start a blog, would be very interesting. They want to edit and approve any guest posts, so letting them do that. Here are the guidelines. So then they share the guidelines, 1,000+ words, yada, yada, yada. Let me know if you're interested. So then, that's when you start the process and you say, okay, yes, I can write this guest post. I'll have it for you in a couple weeks or something like that. So that's the next step, pitching topics. And you want to make sure that you do it for things that don't exist on their site, are SEO optimized, and are good for their audience. So now the question comes, who's actually going to write this guest post? Because I published 80 guest posts in 2019. Doesn't mean that I wrote them all. I actually outsourced most of them. I wrote some of them. But this is the tricky part, right? Because it's like, man, you're telling me I have to write all these blog posts for my own blog. Now I have to write all these guest posts too. That kind of sucks. Well, there's a lot of ways to do this. One, you can outsource the writing to a freelancer. So you can effectively, find a good freelancer and get a 1,000, 1,500 word article written for maybe $100 or $200. So that's a good way. And then if you get links in that article that are valued higher than that, or maybe you trade a link in that article, or you sell a link in that article, whatever you do, you can make your money back on that. Another way to do it is, you can outsource it, or now there's AI writing tools, so you can write something from scratch with a tool like Jarvis. So let's say I want to use Jasper.ai, and we can say something like, I'm going to do this example of how to start a blog for writers. And then I'm going to put in, like, this article describes how to start a blog for writers and what, book publishers can do to improve their reputation online. Continue. Title. I'm going to generate some ideas and see what Jasper comes up with. How to start a blog for writers. That's not bad. Tips for book publishers. I'll use that one. Intro paragraph. I'm going to generate ideas to come up with an intro paragraph. So let's see what they come up with. If you're a writer, it's important to have an online presence. A blog is a great way. Boom. Let's use that one and open the editor. So this is pretty simple. Let's see how quickly I can do this. Setting up your blog. And I'm going to start writing. So the first step in starting your blog is to get web hosting. And then I'm just going to compose a long thing and see what happens. This will give you a place to store your blog's files and make it accessible online. Once you have web hosting, you need to choose a blogging platform, WordPress. It's time to create content. This can be anything from short stories and essays to book reviews and author interviews. Be sure to post. I'm just going to hit compose again. This looks good. In order to attract readership, you'll need to promote your blog. There are many ways to do this, a very positive target audience. Some common sharing links on social media, submitting articles. Okay, so this actually ended it a little bit early. So we're going to kill this sentence off, but we're going to go back to going here, and let's try to start another paragraph. So that we talked about web hosting, we talked about promotion, we talked about, let's talk about, let's see, when it comes to blogging, writing content is important, but link building is vital too. Compose. By creating links to your blog from other websites, you're telling Google that your blog is an authority. Okay, we got another sentence done. Boom. So now we're just getting this down. And let's see how long this is right now. If I go to the total words, word counter, we're already at 345 words. So maybe we need 1,500 words. So we could probably do that in a matter of 15 to 20 minutes, creating that content that we can add our headings in, we can add our links in, and maybe with our AI writing tool, we can actually write the guest post ourselves in about an hour or 45 minutes. Now remember, you don't want to always, you want to check this and make sure it's good writing, but for guest posts, we don't need to be perfect like we're writing them for our own blog. So with an AI writing tool or outsourcing to a freelancer, you can get the guest post written very quickly. So now the guest post is finally written, you can see it's published. You might have to follow up a few times. You send the Google Doc, make sure the sharing settings are optimized so that they can easily see it, your links are in, and then you send it in the email. You say, here's my finished guest post. Please let me know when this will be published, like what a rough publish date may be. You have to push this process a little bit forward to keep it moving. Sometimes it could take 2 days, sometimes it could take 4 or 5 months to get the article published. It's completely based on that site's content calendar. So as you can see, here's my finalized article, How to Start a Writing Blog, a guest blog by Adam Enfroy. And then you can see, I linked right here, but first let's look at why you should start a blog, and that links to my own site early in the content. And then it covers all these different things, and it goes pick a niche, choose a platform, focus on delivering value, optimize your content, and all of that with my guest author bio. So that's it. You might have to follow up, you get that, but now I have a couple links pointing from that site to mine. So then the question becomes, okay, so I can do this guest post outreach, I can link to my own blog, and then I can also trade those potential links. Like if I'm writing for a website and then I do future outreach, I can say, here's 5 articles I'm currently writing. You want to link in one of those? Would that help me get a guest post on your site? So all of this value exchange, building real relationships with these people. And when you start providing value and they show that you can get them links, they'll actually might probably start working with you more. There's major influencers and people that are big in the marketing world that I actually linked to up to 20 times for free without offering anything in exchange before I did outreach. So I might have linked 10 to 20 times to someone like Smart Passive Income before I reached out for a podcast interview or a guest post or something like that. So it's a big value exchange, and like the more valuable you are, the more links you can provide, the easier it is to get links yourself. So then the question comes, well, what do I actually link to then? I have like say 100 articles on my blog or 50 articles on my blog. How do I choose what to link to? I have this guest post, I have these partnerships and other people writing guest posts. What sites or what articles should I prioritize? Well, that ultimately comes down to understanding the URL rating and how link value is passed. So here's an Ahrefs search for the keyword how to make money blogging. This is one that I rank for. It's a pretty hard keyword to rank for. And I rank number 3, between 2 and 3 usually for this. And we can see that there's all these metrics on the first 10 ranking sites. There's DR, domain rating, URL rating. URL rating is really crucial when it comes to ranking and understanding authority on a website, because there's domain rating. Just because you have your domain rating is going up, well, each individual article's URL rating also has to increase. So when you publish something online, a new article, your URL rating is typically 10. So it starts out at 10, and then the more links that you build to that individual article, the higher that URL rating goes. And you can see the URL ratings on the first page to understand the authority of all of these articles. So when we look at this one, we see they're very high. Like every single one is, the lowest is 28, but that's Wix.com. And there's a lot of in the 30s, 40s, and even one in the 50s, a couple in the 50s. So, and you can see all of these domains. So there's hundreds of domains or 40 domains, 100 domains pointing to these articles. Now that's not, those aren't all earned links. A lot of the stuff in these SEO tools is kind of random spam, kind of general links that you get. So you can actually look in and see how many links there actually are. But you have to understand that URL rating passes value from one article to another. So if my URL rating on this Make Money blogging post is 43, that's very high. 10 is when you start, gets up to 20, 30 starts getting high, 40 is higher. So if I link out from my Make Money blogging post with a high URL rating to another website, that passes a lot of value. If this article only had a 10 URL rating and I linked out to somebody, that wouldn't be as much value. So URL rating plays a crucial role in understanding the value of links that you get. So if you're asking for a link or you're doing a link trade, you can try to find, URL ratings that are high, because when you think about it, if you're getting a link from a web page to your blog, how many links are pointing to that? Take a step further. How many links are pointing to that blog post? If there's 100 links pointing to this authority post and you're getting a link from that one, that's much more valuable than an article that doesn't have any links pointing to it. So think of it as link juice, as they say, or link value passing from page to page. So looking at the opportunities that lie in your niche is important. So if I was just starting a blog today, I would probably say, I'm not going to write this article right now on how to make money blogging. Or try to get links to it right now, because it's very competitive at this point in time. Maybe it's a little bit too late to do it. But the key is, if you could find, websites that are ranking in the top 10 with a URL rating that's lower, maybe it's 10, maybe it's under 20, then that shows you that a lower authority page still has a chance of ranking on page 1 if it has good content. So then maybe you start getting links to that article. So you want to get links to your transactional money, list posts. As I talked about in other videos, it's important that a good amount of your videos, or a good amount of your articles, are transactional posts. So for example, another one I rank for is podcast hosting. And when we look at that one, I rank number 1 for podcast hosting, which is the 15 best podcast hosting sites. So it's a transactional post. It's a list post for affiliate revenue. So those are the ones you actually do want to get links to. And people say, how can I get links to them? It's really hard. It's actually not. There's a ton of different anchor texts that you can use. So for example, if I want to link to podcast hosting, I would write something on a podcast type website about how to start a podcast, or podcast recording equipment, or a guest post on podcast software or something like that. And I would link and use the anchor text something like, when choosing the best podcast host, or here are the top picks for podcast hosting. And you don't even have to include the URL. Anchor text is not as important as it once was. You actually don't want to spam your anchor text with the exact keywords you're going after. The anchor text can be something like, choose from this list, or here's a list of the best. Something that doesn't even include the keyword, because Google is good at understanding context. But you can see this one also has URL ratings in the 40s, 80s. There's one that's a 16, but most of these are pretty difficult to rank for. So what do you look for? What do you look for when you want to start thinking about what to link to on your own blog? Well, the strategy of this is a content assembly method. So what you want to do is you publish content on your blog in a minimum viable format. It's not going to be perfect every time that you publish it, but you create a simple, viable post. Maybe you start with just the 5 best options, and then you can eventually over time build it to 15 or 10 or whatever you want. Then you see your initial search ranking viability. So the more authority that your website has, the more links that you have, the initial ranking will change. So maybe when you first start your blog, you see that you're ranking on page 10 for things, not getting any traffic. Then you start building some links overall to a bunch of different articles, your homepage links in the bio. And then when you publish an article, you're on page 4 automatically when you first publish it. You're like, this is good. And then sometimes, maybe now, you get more links and authority. Then you publish an article on a topic, and that article goes to page 2 automatically, or 3. So that's where authority raises all ships, basically. And when you start seeing that you're on page 2, that's when you want to start building links to that article. You look at the URL ratings of the competitors. You look at where you are ranking currently, and it's something that's on page 2, maybe it's going to get to page 1. Maybe you need links for that one. Maybe you do need content updates. But it's a constant cycle of links and content updates to get your content to rank. So I would look at, prioritizing transactional posts that can make you the most affiliate revenue in your niche, ones that aren't too overly competitive where the first page is saturated with URL ratings in the 40s and 50s, something that you can viably rank for, and something that you're creeping up the rankings for. So maybe it's on page 2 or page 3, and some links will help boost that. And then you look at your Google Analytics, you look at Ahrefs, you see what you're ranking for, and you see if that's going up or down. So it's really based on data. What you link to is never going to be perfect, but we want to push our links to the right areas to build the right knowledge graph in Google's eyes. So when you're thinking about what do I link to, try to link to just about everything that you're writing at first to get enough data and start to tell Google what you're an expert in. And then hone in over time on your transactional list posts based on the URL rating of the competition and your current ranking to start to get to page 1. Because remember, you have to get to page 1 to make revenue, and that's the whole point of link building. Building links in order to get to page 1 and then make money. So we talked about guest posts, the entire process of creating one, publishing one, and then we talked about figuring out what to actually link to. But guest posts are not everything. They should really only be 40 to 50% of your link profile. The other one is made up with other tactics. So I want to briefly cover that one in depth as well, and that's what I call white hat link insertions. So that's basically getting links in older articles that aren't guest posts by asking for them. And how do you do that? Well, it's based on leverage. So let me show you an email example of that. I reached out to a website here, and they wanted to be featured in an article of mine. So I had traffic to an article on landing page builders, and a company reached out to me and said, I want to be included in your list of landing page builders because mine was ranking. So I was in the leverage position. So they asked to be, included. Now I'm in the power position saying, I can do that, but what do I want in return? Sometimes you can sell spots in articles if they're ranking really high for competitive, valuable keywords. Sometimes if it's not quite worth it, then that's when you want to ask for links in return. So I was asked, is it possible to get a good position in this article and also in the landing page article? And he said, yes, you can give me the link of a blog and our team will find a best match to link to you. And I said, sounds good. Yep, I can do that. We can also link. So here's an existing stat in an article of yours that works. Once I add it, I'll get everything updated. So then this is how I send white hat link insertion requests. So they come to me, or I reach out and say, do you want to be added? Can you link to me? Then it comes to, I'm asking for the link. So I'm saying link from this article. So I've found, and I searched this website. So I can do something like site adamenfroy.com landing page. And I can, find any instances of something. So for example, if I want to try to find a link, a good link for my landing page builder, and let's say I want a link from HubSpot, I would do hubspot.com and search landing page. So they have an article on landing page designs. You can also use the Ahrefs SERP feature, the Chrome extension, to show you the URL rating of that individual article. So it's a 55, really highly authoritative page. I want to link from this one. So I want to link to my landing page builders article from this one. And then I'm going to Control F and try to find, is there any mentions of builders? Yes, there is. I can get this pop-up off the screen. Oh, it's just there. So let me go and try to find landing page. Okay, so now I'm looking through the article. There's plenty of places I could ask for a link to my landing page builders article. So I could try to do it like something like into your own landing pages. I could try to do it like many of the other landing pages. I could try to link there. You want to find a spot that contextually makes sense for that link in a high authority article. So I'm going to look here. Otherwise, minimal landing pages help people decide whether it's actually worth their precious time and energy. So I'm looking through this article, and we're talking about these different things. Let's see what else we have. So they're giving examples here, and we can find a good spot. So they're talking about specific landing pages, so it's a little bit harder in some of these spots. You can see we have to really scan for it and find a good spot that would work. So let's say I can't find it, because that often happens. What if I put the landing page builder, because that's what mine's all about. So they have an article that's like a product page. They have an actual article on landing page builders. So in this example, they may not link to it because they actually have a specific article on there. But then let's mix it up. Maybe I want a link instead to my web hosting article. So they have the ultimate guide to web hosting. So that's a 40 URL rating. I'm going to try to ask for a link in this one, let's say. Perfect, boom. I would ask for a link right here. So I could say, hey, HubSpot, like if that was the example of them reaching out to me, I would say, yeah, I can do that, but could you link to my web hosting services article from this anchor text right here? So I find the spot for the existing anchor text, and it could be here, some web hosting services, and that would link to my article, the web hosting article. So it would be linking to this one, and I could ask for a spot. And there's tons of spots in this article I could ask for a white hat link insertion on. I could do it here, web hosting services. I could do it here, some web hosting services. I could choose the right web hosting service. That would probably be the best one. So I could ask for it that way. And this is how I ask. I basically ask and I say, here's the existing link right here on your article. Change this to this. Or I can say, here's the exact anchor text, link to this. Let me know if this can be added and I'll update the stuff right away. So when you're asking for a link, you ask, you make it as easy as possible for them. You say, this is the link on your website I want the link from. This is the existing anchor text that exists that will link to my blog. And then here's the article on my blog. So to ask for that is really simple, but you have to get yourself into the leverage position in order to ask for that in the first place. I ask for it and they get added every single time because I'm doing something in return. I'm typically adding their content into an article or doing something of value. And the question then is, do you always do these like link trades? No, I don't. I don't think that's good either. But you can do, a number of them. If it's a big company like HubSpot and their DR is 90, well then of course, I want to link for them. And many sites in your niche have interlinking and will link together. So ultimately you want to ask for links in old authoritative pages and do your guest post links. But this is all based on value. You can start to see this is really based on value and leverage and building real relationships and having a backlog. So again, guest posts are the engine of link building and link trading and building relationships. And then partnerships are the fuel. You can get links from other people's guest posts. You can ask for links in existing articles, but you need to have the value of backlinks in your repertoire. So that's the video on link building. I hope it was helpful to you. Make sure to watch my free blogging masterclass. I go over this way more in depth. We have a lot more content there. And it goes over my content, link building, affiliate marketing strategies, how this all blends together. Because search intent, keyword research, what to link to, how to do link building, how to start ranking, how to monetize the articles, all of this stuff builds a successful blogging business in the 2020s. So make sure to click the link in the description below. And let me know, what do you think about link building? Was this video helpful to you? Did it shed some light that there's only a few real strategies that work? It's not about the tactics. It's more about the personal relationships and psychology. I hope it was helpful to you. Please like this video, comment below, and I will see you in the next one.